Yeah, you just be more natural than that. Just a touch.
Hey, I'm Charlotte, and today I want to talk to you about how to make a teapot. I really like tea. I really like teapots. I really like making teapots, and I really like pottery. And I want to share all of those things with you through a series of videos. So I've been making pottery for maybe the last 5 years. I've been drinking tea all my life, and yeah, it's great that my two favourite things go together so well. I have made a number of teapots since I started making pottery, and honestly, since I started making them, they have just got progressively better. The very first teapot I made, I don't have anymore. I actually gave it away to a friend. And I sold the other two. I made 3 at the same time. I'll try and find some pictures of them, and if I do, I'll put them in the video. But they were very special. I actually entered a teapot competition or a teapot exhibition in Melbourne at the Stonehouse Gallery, and I actually sold one of my pieces, one of the very first teapots I ever made that I put into that exhibition. It was a unicorn. So I'm going to just show you a number of teapots that either I have made or that are just part of my collection. I'm going to sip my tea and we're going to arrive at the teapots. Okay, next, I want to show you some teapots that I've made. As I was talking about earlier in the video, I have put into the Melbourne Teapot Exhibition a couple of times. I have applied for it this year or shown my expression of interest. However, I'm not sure if it's going to be going ahead with all the quarantine rules and everything. So, I mean, I will always make teapots anyway. I'm always making teapots anyway. It's just part of my practice, and it's one thing in pottery that I want to be able to do really, really well, just because I appreciate a good teapot. Alright, so I'm pretty sure that's everything I wanted to talk about in terms of types and styles of teapots. There's so much variety in what a teapot can be, in what people want a teapot to be. I think we'll just go with it and we'll see what we come up with. I will be making 3 different teapots, 3 different sizes, 3 different styles, 3 different handles. We will see how we get on. I'll meet you down at the wheel. First, I have to clean up. I use plaster bat to wedge on. It means the clay doesn't stick to the table. Alright, so you can see that I've got 1, 2, 3 little snowmen. And these will become the teapot body, and the top or the head is going to become lid and the spout for the teapot. And we will be pulling the handle tomorrow when we trim them. So you'll need a little bit of extra clay for that. I don't weigh my clay out. I've got 3 graduating sizes of bowls. I'm making a large, a medium and a small size. We will get into shapes more once we are throwing it on the wheel. But that's it for now. So I'll meet you over there. So I am going to throw the teapot bodies using a bat. I'm just going to get this in the center. Okay, so now I've got the clay in the center. The next stage is getting it into a cylinder. Now, if you don't know how to get the clay into a cylinder, you shouldn't really be making a teapot yet. You'll find it very hard to. So teapots are more of an intermediate throwing thing, so you want to be able to center the clay and make a cylinder. Essentially every form that you'll make on the wheel starts as a cylinder, so it's really important that you can make and throw a really good strong cylinder that's even from top to bottom. That's what we're looking for. So we're just going to talk a little bit about shape. I want to make a sort of wide bottom, little fat, dumpy looking teapot to start with the small lump of clay. It'll be about a 2-person teapot. So firstly I'm going to open up. Really important, like with every piece, that you compress the bottom well. If you don't, you'll have a hard time when you're trimming, and potentially problems through the firing too. It's just good practice on every piece you make. Just compress the bottom. Compress it, compress it, compress it. So the idea when you're pulling up the walls of your cylinder is you want to leave a thickness at the top. You don't want to thin out your cylinder too much at the top, otherwise you're going to have a hard time making the valley of the teapot where the lid sits. So you can see here that I've almost got this this curve over at the top here on the lip, and that's something that I like to try and keep. And then you can use that in making the valley. But so we just want to pull up into a cylinder, keeping this top section as narrow as possible. We're looking for height at the moment, not for width. We're not taking it out, we're just taking it up. So you can see here I've got a bit too much thickness on the lip there, so I'm just going to thin that out. So we've got a cylinder. So you see we've still got quite at least 0.5 centimetre thickness at the top there. So once again, colour it in. And just compress the rim. Okay, now we're going to work on the shape. So I want it to be out and round. Bearing in mind it's going to be a bit smaller than that. So once again, mark out the center. So what you need to bear in mind when you're pulling the walls is you start your pull normally at the bottom, normal pressure, normal pressure, normal pressure, normal pressure, and then when you get to this section here, you release your pressure almost entirely, and you just bring the pull all the way to the top still, but really with no pressure. So you've got a good amount of thickness in this top sort of 1 to 2 centimeters that you can use when you're doing the rim. Alright, so when we're shaping, we just want to take it out just a little bit at a time, and we're using one hand on the inside, one hand on the outside, and we're not expecting to get the final shape the first time we're trying to move it. What we're trying to do is just getting the clay moving towards that final shape that you've got in your mind. You're going to always just compress that rim down after you've done a shaping. So just pushing with my fingertips at the bottom, just flaring that out. Got my fingers on the outside, just not letting it come out too far, not too much in one go, but eventually it will be quite a lot. And always taking that pull to the top and then compressing down and then once again. Another way to do this is with the sponge. I don't really like doing that, left hand, right hand. However, I like using my hands and feeling it. I really feel like it's sort of key in the creation process for me, is having my hands on the clay and feeling exactly what it's doing and controlling it and to do what I want it to do. So always just going back in and compressing that rim, and making sure we've got a nice bit of clay on there that we can make the valley of the teapot with. And start to thin out that top section there and bring it over. So all I'm doing is supporting on the inside and just pushing on the outside, and sort of just always keeping in mind the shape that I'm wanting this piece of clay to turn into. Okay, so I'm wanting to get it to squish down a little bit more, really. So just working again with my fingers, being quite careful of the rim, the entry area here. I mean, everything is fixable, obviously, but just being mindful that we want that to remain as is. Excellent. So you can see that we've got this more sideways shape coming out of the pot now, which is exactly what I wanted. I'm just going to knock this out again from the inside. Cool. So we've got a weak section at this point, and that's this area in the middle, because we stretched that out further. So that's a little bit thinner. What I am going to do now is, we've got a lot of thickness in this section here, and what we're going to do is try and move it over. So I'm supporting on the inside with my fingers, and I'm just putting pressure on the outside. Just move back here a little bit more, and I'm just trying to lay it down. I'm not trying to push it, I'm just trying to push it into my fingers, which are on the inside, and they're waiting to support it. So it's never going to fully cave in on itself, because my fingers are there to stop it. Just making sure your fingers are moist on the inside so they're not going to get stuck to the pot. I'm really starting to like the shape of this. There's a couple more things that I want to do before moving on to the valley, and this will strengthen up the wall slightly before we move onto that section, and that's just compressing it with a rib. I use just a soft, it's really soft rubber. I just want to take it on the outside and really define that shape to be exactly where I want it to be. And I'm just taking off all the throw lines in the process. So you can see I've got a nice little round teapot body here. Just going to really smooth out those lines there. And again, to working on this rib. I'm just making that stand up a little bit more so it's a little bit more prominent from the body. I'm able to do that because I've got quite a lot of clay at the top here to play with still. And just really getting that shape sorted and exactly how I want it to be. I think that's the key to every good teapot, is just working and getting it to a shape that you feel happy with. So what we're going to do now is move on to just inverting the valley here at the top, and there's a few ways you can do that. In this case, I think what I'm going to do is this square edge tool here. And first of all, I'm going to wet it up with my fingers, give it a little feel, maybe put a little pressure on the inside, get that sort of turning in and down. So I have this channel now at the top that's quite thick, and I'm just going to cut a little square edge into that channel. So I'm supporting on the inside of my finger so I don't push all the way through, and I'm just taking this square edge and into this little channel here. Oh, not like that though. So you see I do it very slowly, very tentatively. But you can see now we've got this nice defined valley on the inside with this prominent lip on the outside. Careful where you're dripping. So I'm pretty happy with that in its shape, and I might just get my fingers onto this little valley here and just give it a smooth down. Always supporting it on both sides, you don't want to squash it all the way through. And then just might get this rib one last time on the outside here. It's always good to look at how my hands are supporting off each other while I'm using the tools when I'm touching the clay. Even though this hand isn't actually touching, it's supporting this hand, and then this hand is actually supported by me leaning it on my leg. So there's no way that the clay is able to pull me unless I stop doing any of those things. And finally, just a little finger on that top edge just to smooth that out and get rid of any ragged edges. Really delicate work though. And we're done. So the last thing that I'll do on this pot, and something you would definitely need when you're making a teapot is a set of these. Now these are really rusty, but these measure this, and measuring this, don't hit it like I just did, is how we know the size to make the lid. Really important. So the measurement that I take and the lid I want to do on this one has a little edge to sit on the valley, but also a little drop down that goes into the center part. So I measure where the drop down needs to sit, so that is from this inside edge to that inside edge. That is the measurement I'm taking on the calipers. The best way to do that, or the way I like to do it, is by pushing them all the way like this. That's too much. And now we're getting there. And it's just a little bit of trial and error, guesstimation, using your eyes, having a feel. And I like to get it pretty precise. So I'm happy with that. Perfect. So I know that my drop for the lid needs to be exactly that wide and no wider. So I pop that here until we need it. So there we go. You can see the valley sits nicely. It's got this nice little rim up here. Yeah, quite happy with that for a small little teapot. That'll do too. Alright, so next what we're going to do is throw the lid and the spout for that one of the hum bit. Now if you don't know how to throw up the hump, you'll need 2 lumps of clay for this little section. So once again, I'll just get it in the center. Okay, so firstly I am going to throw maybe a couple of spouts. I always like to do a couple of everything. So I'll do 2 lids and 2 spouts for each of the pots. So first of all, I want to take just a tiny little bit of clay, and this is going to make my 2 spouts now. I don't make very big spouts most of the time. I'll make one slightly bigger for each of the pots and slightly smaller, but both of them will be pretty small. So all I'm doing is I'm just opening up a little section of this clay, and not very deep, maybe just as deep as my nail. My nail bed, sorry. So yeah, the first. And then all I'm doing is just pulling up the wall a little for that. So you see we've got this little hollow section now at the top. So I want to thin that out. And you can see we're starting to get this little spout sort of shape here. So we can give a little bit of pressure on the rim and just sort that out. If your rim's ever looking like uneven or ragged, just a little bit of pressure on it will usually sort it out. If not, you can just take the top off. So you can do one more pull in this. A little bit more pressure on the rim there, and I'm pretty happy with that. So I just take my rib once again, just the really soft rib, and just take those 3 lines off the outside of that. Completely. And then all I'll do is I'll just dry that off. You just put your little pinky on the inside, give it a lean, and then you can pick it up. I just pop that on the bat next to the pot, and then I come back in and do the next one. So just sectioning off a little bit more clay. That looks like a little bit too much. And then we'll try that. So we'll just open that up, and then we'll stand it up. Do you see it's got a bit wide, so easy to fix. All we do is just color it in. And you don't want to color it all the way in on the first time if it's got super wide. Just a little bit at a time, just like the shaping of the teapot. Nothing is fast. The wheel is not fast. I'm not moving my hands fast. And you can't expect your actions to appear fast on the clay if you're not moving fast. So everything's slow, slow, slow. And I might make this a really thin narrow at the end here. tiny, tiny little pea spout. So you can see we've got this fatter section here and it tapers into this really tiny little nose. Just a bit of a fun way. I might just put a bit of an angle on that end section of the spout there. That can definitely help with pouring, something that I've noticed. And we'll just wire him off too. And then stand it on the bat next to the pot. So now this is what we've got. We've got a fat little spout and a thin little spout. Both of them are little. I like little spouts. Maybe I'll do a longer one on one of the other pots. Alright, so now we're on to the lid. Now, we've got our caliper measurements set out before. We know that hasn't changed because they're really rusty. So now we want to section off around 50% of this clay. So, you know, getting a gauge for what we're trying to do, how big the lid is, how much clay we've got here. What we're trying to do is make the little droplets, so it has a drop that goes in and it's got a little lip that sits on the valley of the teapot. So, first thing we want to do is make the little dome almost like a little bowl. So we're just slowly opening it up, but we're leaving this area quite thick. So we just come in, take a quick check. Alright, so that's where we're at. So what we're doing now is thinning out this section, but we're leaving it quite thick on this bottom edge still. So we're just opening, squeezing the two fingers together, kind of like you do in a bowl, pulling the wall of a bowl. And we've got this thick little section here on the outside. We want to just keep that as is. So you can see we've almost got a little bowl sitting here waiting for us to shape it into the lid. Now all we have to do that, so this is quite thick and similar to the making the valley on the teapot. What we're going to do is just move a section of this down. So to be able to do that, I actually like to use a cocktail stick or a needle tool. I just never have a needle. Oh, saying that. I have a needle, So all I'm doing is taking the needle and I'm just resting it in the center part of that thick section. And you see, it's just cutting it through. With that needle, I can kind of open it up, but I don't want to take it too far because it'll start cutting it. So you can see I've got that nice prominent little opening there. So just take my little V cutter. And I just want to pop that in and slowly widen out that lead out. And you can see what's starting to happen now is I've got an inside and an outside section. So what I can do is just take my finger on this outside section and flatten it down. Then you can take my finger on this inside section and stand it up a little. Now we need the measurement, and we've got our inside section in the wrong area. So what we're going to do is just put our fingers on the inside and just widen that whole thing just a little. Just a little, keeping a constant steady pressure. And we want to come back in and we want to take our measurement, and we can see that that is just inside that. So I'm happy with where that's sitting on the calipers. I want to just stand this edge down and then stand this edge up. But we can see that this lid has got a lid shape. It's got the flat section, it's got the bottom section, it's upside down. So all we're going to do is just neaten off this middle bit here. And then I'm just going to pinch here from underneath, and I'm pinching from 6 points, not just 2. I'm not just pinching either side, I'm pinching with my finger, my thumb, and this part of my middle finger. So they go here, this finger at the top, thumb at the bottom, and I'm just pinching in, and I'm just getting that lid off that bottom section. And at the same time as doing that, I'm actually creating a little top for the lid that can be utilized as the knob to lift it up with. So you can see here, and that's the lid. So you can see we've got this lip that's going to sit down on the inside, and then this valley that's going to sit on the outside. Alright, last one for this little throw session of the first teapot. It's just one more lid, and I'm just getting this clay up and off the wheel here. We're going to do this lid pretty much exactly the same. And we can do some other lids on the other teapots. So once again, just making that little bowl shape down and into the center. And this is the underside of our lid. just take a gauge, that's where we want our inside to be. So, once again, we'll take the needle and we'll split this in and around that area and lean it slightly out like we did before. We want to come in with this angle. You can see it's got some little raggedy bits in there. We want to just go in and make that a bit more defined there. And just go in and see. That's looking pretty good. So just a little bit of moisture. And we're going to just get your finger in that valley there and just lay him down. Now I think this is going to be a little bit wide of a seat for that valley, so we might just have to trim that down. That's not a problem. And you want to just take this inside section here and really stand that up nice and prominent and give it a little bit of an edge. So you can see that that's going to sit down nicely inside, and then we've got this outside section that's going to sit on the lip. And I'm just going to lay that down a little bit flatter. And we're just going to give that a little trim with the needle. And support on the underside. And just take that edge off. Put little dimples in it, so we'll just flatten those back out. Excellent. So you can see that we've got a lot of thickness happening underneath here still, so we want to start with that little bit of pressure. We can even start that for ourselves here by using this tool. Perfect. So we've got a lot of thickness on the top of this one. It's not too much of a problem. We can get rid of that in the trimming process, or we can try and get rid of a bit more right now. See, layer number 2. The inside and the outside edges. So there's one teapot thrown and ready to construct, or ready to dry overnight, and then construct or trim and then construct tomorrow. This is teapot number 1, the small one. Alright, so that's it for today. It's getting all cold and dark out here, so I hope that was informative, and we'll be back for more throwing and trimming tomorrow.